CBS News is getting a first-hand look at the growing crisis at the southern border. CBS News has confirmed 7,300 unaccompanied migrant children were transferred into a network of shelters run by the U.S. Refugee Agency last month. CBS News correspondent Mireya Villarreal spent time with law enforcement witnessing the crisis and spoke with children and adults who say they had no choice but to come.
You have hundreds and hundreds of people coming across here on a daily basis,
The banks of the Rio Grande River are where Sergeant Roger Rich and Deputy Ruben Salinas spend most of their nights working overtime.
This is one of the main crossing areas where they like to cross because it's very secluded out here.
Their job is to help Border Patrol respond to the surge of migrants illegally crossing into the United States.
I actually myself have found 5-year-olds by themselves in the brush, not a quarter mile from this location.
How does that sit with you?
That's pretty rough. I have a 6-year-old and I wouldn't want him out here by himself. It's heartbreaking.
Minutes later, that heartbreak right in front of us. 2 moms traveling with their boys. Yoseli left Honduras 4 months ago with her son Derek after she says someone there tried to kidnap her and extort her family for money.
She said now she decided to cross because she's heard that the law is different here in the United States. So she believes this is the right time for her to pass into the U.S.
She'll try to live with family in Florida while she works through the asylum process.
They didn't cross the river by themselves. They were brought across on a raft, either a boat or a raft.
And the dry clothes give that away.
Oh, yeah.
As the sun starts to set, we run into a group of unaccompanied teenage boys. Then, in the dark, Rich and Salinas find a large group filled with young children.
She's scared. She's scared of a lot of things.
The constables keep them on the main trail, pushing them towards a Border Patrol staging area about a mile away. At the end of the line, we walk with Juanmil Esteban Rosales from Honduras.
And he says, dígame otra vez, ¿por qué no tiene miedo? He said God is watching over him. That's why he's not scared. So he's 10. He doesn't know where his dad is. His mom is in Honduras. And he has an aunt that he is going to try and stay with here in the United States. There's a family up there that's going to kind of watch over him.
That 10-year-old boy will now be processed and go into the system. We have asked to tour some of these detention facilities and shelters, but as of right now, press is not being allowed inside. We did speak to an attorney, however, that is representing some of these migrant children. She says that they are rarely showering. A lot of them are hungry right now and having to take turns sleeping on the ground inside shelters and detention facilities, just like the one you see behind me. Mireya Villarreal, CBS News, Donna, Texas.
For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News White House reporter Bo Erickson. Hi, Bo. So let's start with this crisis at the southern border. What has the response been from the Biden administration on this influx of migrants, particularly the unaccompanied minors, like that 10-year-old boy we just saw in Mireya's package?
Yeah, exactly. And you can hear the fear in his voice and the pain that those constables down there at the southern border are feeling about dealing with this influx of migrants as well. The president was just asked if he has any plans to go down to the southern border and check this out for himself, and he just reporters that not yet. He does not have plans yet to go down the southern border. We've been hearing what is happening, this influx of migrants for the past couple of weeks, kind of been almost a piecemeal approach through our reporting here at CBS News and other outlets. And at this time, the administration has just been kind of responding one by one at the different type of problems and trying to put forth solutions. But as we've heard today, the Secretary of the Homeland Security put out this very striking letter trying to hit at the totality of what is happening. And what has specifically struck out at me is that he says that we are on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than we have in the last 20 years. So obviously there is a crisis going down at the southern border, but that is a word. There's almost a rhetorical battle going on at the White House right now of whether or not this is a crisis or an emergency. The White House is calling it a big problem right now. We are trying to ask why they think this is happening, and they are putting the blame on what they call was a broken immigration system from the Trump administration. The laws have changed and the rules have changed from the Biden administration these past couple months, and that is when we started to see this influx of migrants through to the southwest border. And so we will continue to ask the administration if we can see these processing facilities for ourselves in the media, because that is something that the administration has yet to grant media access for.
And Bo, moving on now to the American Rescue Plan, which, of course, is what the administration wants to keep the focus on right now, not necessarily the southern border, as they're apparently not ready to tackle that head on just yet. But why does President Biden and other, key administration members feel that traveling to promote this plan that has already passed and has proven to be quite popular in polling, why do they feel that's the best use of their time right now?
Yeah, I'm glad you hit on it, because it is that dichotomy right now that the top of the administration is traveling the country to deal with this law that has already been passed. They're not selling it anymore, as we've heard that Vice President Harris say these are just the directions going on. But I guess there is some recognition here that they know that many Americans do not read the fine print here, so they are going out saying this is what specifically is in the law and how you can have some help come that is already been passed. It is this huge stack of money and options that they can take part of. It is a 6-state tour. Today, the president is going to Pennsylvania and the vice president is in Colorado. And there is definitely some politics involved here as well, because at the end of the week, both the president and the vice president will be in Georgia. They will be making the case that they delivered on those promises when they were campaigning for both the now 2 Democratic senators down there. But even though it is important to know that the checks that were passed were only $1,400, which is, of course, a lot of money, but the campaign promises leading into January was for $2,000 checks.
And, Bo, you have reporting on the potential nationwide face mask standard in workplaces. The White House has missed their own deadline on this. So what's happening here? Are they just taking a step back and trying to figure out what the status is with the larger vaccinated populations? What's at the root of the delay?
So this is one of those quiet rulemaking processes that go on in the federal government that don't get a lot of attention, but if it is passed, it will impact millions of workers throughout the country. On the second day of his presidency, President Joe Biden asked his Department of Labor whether or not they needed to come up with some what is called emergency temporary standards to set regulations for safety in the workplaces during COVID-19. There are currently no nationwide standards for safety that can be enforced. So some businesses, while they do take the appropriate measures, other businesses are not forced to. In the absence of this nationwide standard, some states have taken up their own rules. But as you mentioned yesterday, the self-imposed deadline from the White House was to have these standards be issued if they were deemed necessary. We have been asking about these, and they said they are taking their time trying to decide the scope of these standards, whether it's just going to be face masks are required, what type of face masks, if it's just going to be social distancing. And if they are enacted, which we are told that there's going to be some aspect of these federal standards enacted, we will see that these will have some teeth to them as well, and it will be welcome to a lot of workers, especially the unions, but there will also be some questions from businesses and major factory workers, especially meat processing plants, on whether or not that these standards are economical and feasible for their type of work.
All right, Bo Erickson, thank you so much.